All right, guys. Good morning. Let me shut off the music here. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Axel. Hopefully you guys can hear me. David and Dallas are let me know they're kind of on the move, so they're listening in until they can get hopped on here. But we'll get started right away. We like to respect everybody's time and get the business done. Today is systemizing your listing process to handle more inventory while servicing clients at a higher level. So, it's pretty straightforward. The more we systemize our business, it's always going to trickle down to, it's always going to trickle down to improve your client's experience. The more organized you are, the more on top of things you can be. In my personal business, I would have to say that whenever I find myself hitting bottlenecks, it's almost certainly comes down to lacking of a system to handle certain details. So I'm going to go into what I have been using to manage my sellers and my listings, again, to get the ideas flowing, and then we'll open up the floor for conversation on it. But I'll show you what I have been using, and the system is always a foundation to be improved upon, right? Whenever you use it and you come and run into something that it's not covering, well, then that's just a time to add it in there. So I'm going to pull my screen up here. Okay, so this is what I'm using as a master seller checklist with Excel, I have it up in Google Drive. Pretty much each step of the way of the listing I've got tabbed off on the bottom here. So it almost goes in chronological order. Now the first tab here is just all of the client's information, property info, client info, eventually lender inspector. As you get this information, it comes in their locksbox number and things like that, any particular showing instructions. I have notes down here of certain companies that I may use or refer out to clients. I've got a tax accountant there, stager consultants and things like that. But the first page is fairly unused. Then we get into the checklist. So each step along the way, I'm going to have a checklist. The tabs along the bottom, you'll see listing, accepted offer, firm deal, completed sale. And the reason that I like this is for depending on where you are in your business, some people may have assistants, some may not. I am a solo agent at this point where really my next step is to bring on help. And the checklist here, basically you're just making a list of all the steps that you're doing throughout it. It has a space for initial and a space for date. So this, because it can live in Google Drive, this is a way where you can manage it with assistants, where if they're coming in and doing the task, or you're doing the task, some tasks as an agent will have to be done by the agent, but whoever completes it initials it and dates it, and it can make it very efficient in the fact that you can just log in and check and see what has been done on your listing. And then, you can make notes here to your assistant on the side, or even to yourself. Or if you're really systemizing things, you can even do videos of the task if you're planning for the future, and put these links here. So when it comes time to bring people on, or, if you have a shift in staff, if there is a link to a video of how to do the task for the ones that can get done that way, then it will also act as your training of assistant for these tasks. So that's what I like about it. I'm not going to get into every step, obviously, for the listing, for one of two reasons. One, we'll all have very similar steps, and two, some of us will have our own unique things. But the point here is that you want to break down everything step by step. It's set up where you initial and date it. When it's done, it lives on Google Drive so that you can have multiple people monitoring it without having to be going phone call to phone call to see what has been done. So it just adds efficiency to the business. Accepted offer, there's going to be different steps that you're going to have to do there, uploading to your system, reviewing the contract dates. Like it's fairly basic stuff, as most systems are, right? But it's just making sure you're not missing even a basic step. If it missed, it can blow up your deal, right? So it's not rocket science of what is on my list. And this is created really quickly when you have a deal. You just make sure you're breaking down each step you do. Then it's on your list, and then you can check it, or you can even have your assistant checking on you, right? That's what the system is for. So we've got listing, accepted offer, firm deal, what's done at firm deal, what's done at completed sale, anything following up with clients, getting them on your past client follow-up systems, whatever the case may be. And then there's a couple things here that I do add that I've really liked for myself. So for each individual listing, I am going to calculate all of the expenses for every listing. And then we have the income down here. Now in BC, obviously in any market, there's no standard commission. So we can get stuck in a rut where this is what I charge, but I always like to try to expand my services and expand my income. And one way to do that is to make sure your eye is always seeing it for every single transaction. So I'll have listing expenses here, and this may expand for different listings depending on what I do, but I want to keep track of all the expenses for each individual listing. I also want to try and keep track of the hours spent. Now, this is good for many reasons. I'm trying, some of it's guesstimate, right? Listing, lead up, nurture. How much time did I maybe spend after I got the lead from phone calls, following up, my listing prepping for the appointment, my listing appointment, signing the listings if it's not done on the same day, ordering services, open houses, showing properties. The more you can break that down, some of these may break up into multiple things. This can also allow you to visualize what you may need to be delegating. If you ever find that you're getting overwhelmed and busy, well, then you come back to your listing, to these listing master checklists, you zone in on here and you look at what you've been doing and say, hang on, what can I bundle up and what can I delegate to an assistant, to whomever, an outside service. So I think it's very important in that factor. What can you move over here that would maybe fall under assistant or outside service, whatever the case may be. But I try to watch what I'm doing so I can see what I can delegate. Then down here for listing income projections, I mean, these are what I've used what I find is most common in our market, but of course there's no common for commissions, but 7 and 2.5, if anybody is outside in another market, then it might be 5, 6, 7% just flat if you're in the States or back east. But in Western Canada, typically we have a split commission structure, 7% on the first 100,000, 2.5 on the balance, 7 and 3, 7 and 3.5. Now, even if someone is grinding me and I am down here, I want to visually see what that difference is. It's very important so that when you're going into your next listings, if you can see the additional income that can be made, what I like to do is think is what are the additional services I can provide my client that warrants me being paid for that. So what we have here is based on the commission rate. We've got a list price, gross commission based on the structures, net after split. So depending on how your brokerage works, I mean, for mine, it's 80-20 until you cap out at 16K. So that's like between maybe 6 to 8 deals. Some people might be on a flat fee brokerage. Everyone will be different. I also have a percentage that goes to buying stocks at a discount. So that's calculated into my net after split as well. Gross income after expenses. So this is what I think is the most important one. After I've given up for split and after I've taken off these expenses here, this is what's in my pocket. Now, I then do an estimated for tax, whether we put 20% away or 30% away, whatever the case, whatever it is we put away to pay our taxes at the end of the year. And then based on also all these hours spent here, it's going to calculate your hourly rate at each one of these commission structures. And from whatever your bare bones is, if somebody is really grinding you and it's the commission that it's either that or I'm walking. I just don't do business at any level below that. Well, then what I'm doing is setting the ones above it, seeing what the difference in your pay would be if you were able to provide services to warrant these higher commissions. And you can see that even just from 2.5 to 3.5 on that balance there, it's actually an income increase of over 50%. And the thing is what could you do for your clients with that extra income, right? You can really take your service to a whole nother level. And then all of a sudden you're really, really standing out. So I always like with people I'm working with to at least think of that in mind. It's not just this cash grab of what you can get. What can you do with that for your clients? And, and the more you do, the more you will get additionally, or you should get additionally compensated if you were stepping above and beyond what other agents in the market are doing. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. I'm really just looking at listing expenses added up, income projections based on whatever commission structure, but always looking at multiple ones. I don't just want to focus on the one that I normally do. I want to be expanding my horizons there. And then just hourly rate. I mean, it's a nice another metric to look at, but really the value in this is being able to identify things that you are doing that could be delegated. You don't want those to be just kind of in the cloud in your brain. You want them to be upfront. Even if you're doing them for 5, 6, 7 deals, you have to see it enough to where you're like, enough is enough. I'm going to pay and get these delegated. So after that, we've got the showing log. This is just to make sure I keep my clients in tune with all the showings. We all know sellers love their feedback. Everybody's probably got some sort of seller log. Some people share this on Google Drive so their clients can just log in and see it for themselves. Now, I got no problem with that, but I do find there's major importance of also getting on the phone to your clients so you can feel their feedback, because sometimes if you let things go for too long and your systems are too automated and you're not having any touch points with your clients, you're not getting feelers from them if something is a little off. And you want to do any course correction you need for the, I didn't have myself on the video there. You want to do any course correction that you need to do for the client as soon as possible, right? So it's very important to still be getting on the phone, even though we have automated systems. But I keep track of realtor, confirm with client, confirm with realtor feedback, how many times they viewed, if they've expressed interest or not. Because it's important for the client to know, did they express interest? Yes or no. Often if they have expressed interest, feedback will be minimal. And I tell them that. I also give my clients a heads up that, hey, just so you know, the feedback can feel like the seller is a punching bag, because people typically don't want to tell you what they love about the house if they're interested. So often what we're going to hear back is just what maybe they didn't like, but I let the seller know that's fine. If they needed extra bedrooms, there's nothing we can do. But if there is consistent feedback of something that we can take action on, then it's very important feedback. So I find this works really great in slower markets, nothing like we are now. I've been able to get into multiple offers just by taking note of who expressed interest. 3 months later, I get an offer, and then I reach out to all of those people who did express interest, and I've been able to generate multiple offers in a slow market months after the listing. And I explain this to the seller in the listing appointment, and they see value. It's important to explain the systems to your seller in the listing appointment to the degree that they are still engaged, but to let them know what you are doing differently. Because if somebody else shows them something that they're doing and you're doing it too, but you didn't show them, then they're not going to account for you doing those. I follow up with I have a log for open houses. It's a little more basic, just a date, number of groups, how many groups came with realtors, and then just general feedback. We take notes as we conversate in the open house. I'm trying to get through this here because we're at 15 minutes and I want to get to talking. So after this, open houses, and I have my market monitor. So I'm going to have my client's property here, list date, how many days are on the market each time I send them. And again, it's the same thing we went over before. I'm going to be looking at sold listings. So anything that is active on the market that would be considered comparable, worth them looking at, we are going to be watching it on the market, seeing what it's assessed at, its asking price versus assessed value, just so we're getting gauges on these numbers. Again, guys, the assessed value thing is just another lens to look at things. Sometimes it may not tell the whole story, and you're going to have to dig in and pull out more specifics to go through with the client, but it is a good temperature gauge. So I'm going to have any sold listing that comes up. If a property sells that would be considered comparable, I will send them an updated version of this anytime a property sells, anytime a new property comes on the market. And then they are very in tune if they are, if they're priced out of, if they're pricing themselves out of the market, they're going to see it. It's just constantly in their hands. And when the time comes to talk, if they've seen 4 properties sell that are priced lower than theirs according to this scale, they'll start to see, am I priced properly? If they're priced higher than all of the ones that are on the market, and we're watching these ones sell underneath them, it tells the story itself. So this is how I keep my clients updated with the market. This is my market monitor. When an offer comes in, I use the same system. And again, this doesn't replace a manual CMA. They work more hand in hand. It's not one or the other, but I'm obviously not going to do a CMA in a meeting like this. But so if they have an offer come in, we're going to see sales here. I'm going to put notes so that, you know, if they didn't, this particular client didn't have a fully finished basement. So I needed to make note of everyone that did. And then I have the offer price down here so that they see it. And then we look at example sale prices and see how in pocket we are in. Like this is a long time ago now, but this client was priced here. The offer was here, and I could show them, well, the offer is actually kind of in pocket. So if we can counter back and get them up, we're going to be beating the averages. And most of these homes have fully finished basements and yours doesn't. So I've got them in the right mind state of looking at the offer. After that, we're just back to checklists here. So this part I'll just go through quickly. So at the beginning, we've got the checklist listing. We know we're going to list it. We know we're going to deal with an accepted offer. We know we're going to have a firm deal and a completed sale. Then I get into the helping tools, expenses, showing log, open house. And then at the end here, it's for stuff that's less likely. If there's an amendment to a listing, there's a checklist. If there's a cancellation of a listing, we're not seeing them in this market. Well, that happens when re-putting it back on for price adjustments. Expired listing, there's a checklist there, amendment to the CPS, and collapsing of the sale. So those are used less. So I just keep them on the back end there. But that is it. And now that's almost 20 minutes in there. But Axel, since you're the one with your face on the camera here, what are your thoughts on that, or what other systems maybe have helped you out in staying organized or being efficient with sorry, sweetie, I'm in a meeting, please. My daughter just popped her head in. With systems that help you be efficient.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, I enjoy your presentation, Mark. Hey, Dallas, how are you? So I use.
Hey, buddy, good.
I'm pretty much using the same system, but not as elaborate as yours. So the way I use it, I have a checklist. Pretty much is one-page Excel sheet. Okay. That I do follow for every listing, so we don't miss out the paperwork. But what I love about yours, it's quite enhanced in integrating many other information that is handy and calculating, such as it's helping with the conveyancing. That's pretty much what you're doing on your part. And I love that. And if I can get a copy of that, that would be phenomenal. Then I will adjust my system. Absolutely. Sure.
Yeah, and it works as a great base, right? Because when you go through it, and you'll see what I have in there, and so, you know, a lot of it will probably be similar, and other stuff you'll be doing that perhaps I'm not. And if you notice anything that I'm really missing, please let me know. But it's just a great base to build on, right?
No, it's absolutely enhanced, and I don't have any other further suggestion that you can put in there. The only thing that I found, even with your previous session that we talked about, With the Google sheet that you have in there, it's amazing to have that and as an integration. The only thing is an input of a manual entry of information. I wish there was a way that we could enter those information on an automated, such as a CMA base. But you have to go through every single column and enter it manually, such as the BC assessment and number of bedrooms and many other things in there to analyze all the facts. But overall, this is quite enhanced, and you done an amazing thing in there, buddy.
And what I will do, Axel, because I recorded the other day how to automate, not necessarily automate, but speed up that process of filling it out. Unfortunately, I recorded it without my volume on, so I have to redo it. But for the most part, I can set up my Paragon to export it where the only one I'm truly doing manual, which I can't get around, is the assessed value. All the others I can copy and paste in batches, so it does speed it up. But yes, I know, trust me, that is something I haven't loved, and I've been thinking, how do I get around it?
But but overall, if you skip the CMA, the showing sheets that you had in there, it's very, very useful. I don't use that, to be honest with you. I just practically inform of the amount of showings on my touch base. That's what I do. But having that as a login and showing it to the seller with the feedback written, in addition to the communication on a verbal basis, that's an asset right there for sure.
Yeah, and I can tell you, like, we're in a different market now, but in these slower markets, when things are not going well, again, we all know how buyers can get amnesia. But if I'm going to the showing log and it's like, look, well, we've had 27 showings, they're here. If you go 6-7 weeks and you've had those amount of showings, in their mind, if it's not going well, they might be thinking like, they might be thinking exactly as it is, but they might be thinking substantially different as well. So it brings it just shows it, and it works when it's needed to. Because if they already in the mind are calculated all and they feel like, oh, that's been a lot, then it's great. It doesn't necessarily have that value, but it really works for the times when a client can kind of get amnesia. And if that happens and we are not providing the tools to ensure that they stay informed, it often will turn to the thought of, is my realtor doing what I paid him for, right? That's what it comes to. But with this stuff, everything, if it's needed, can be taken out and be like, well, this is what has been going on. And I find it helps without, it's much stronger than you saying something out of your mouth, that if their memory is not the same, that they're not sure if they believe it, And I mean, this is rare, really. That is, the best systems protect you in the worst case scenarios, right? This is every agree. Client, but
I agree.
Exactly.
I also see that. I also see that end result as well, just in case nobody wants to talk about it, but at the same time, it's there. It's in the back of mind of everyone to have a protection. And this is a great thing to have as a detailed set, as a refresher for everyone. What really happened during this transaction. And I remember one of the times that I took a legal course, it was mentioned to take notes of everything, and we do, but having it gathered under an organized set of a transaction follow-up, I think this is a perfect set to go. I would love to have a copy. This was a great session, Mark.
I appreciate that. So yeah, with that, I mean, there's not too much more to go into. I'm trying to think. I tried to cover everything in here for the most part. Now, this part, again, expand it as needed, and the more this can be broken down. For myself, I need to get on that extra help, and this I have actually added just recently, because again, what I find is when I have bottlenecks in my business, it comes down to, okay, what system am I missing? And in this case, it's just, I'm out here doing all this stuff, doing it all, and never thinking about what's different or what what could I be delegating? What maybe I shouldn't even be doing? Because if, so that part I added there just recently, but yes, it's a great foundation that you can certainly add on. It's very easy to add on, which is really good. It's set up to work with other people. I should probably add a notes category from here, but I will definitely share that with everybody. And yeah, I think that's it. I know you missed the front end of the session, Dallas, but you've seen this before. Another thing I will point out, I'll always make note of my client's list date, and I will always update their days on market. Never be afraid of any information that the seller might not love to see or hear. In fact, that information needs to be front and center all the time, so that when it's time for you to bring it up, it's not this big, weird, awkward bomb. Any information that they may not love, front and center. In my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. I was just re-listening to The Millionaire Agent by Gary Keller again, and they were just talking about how important these systems are, and knowing your value and whatnot, and just having incredible systems in place that will streamline your business, and how important that is, just to make sure that every hour you spend is meaningful, right? So no, this is good.
Maximize, absolutely. So it's 9:58, guys. We will leave it at that. I do not know what next week's topic is, but we'll figure something out to chat about. David was listening on the go, so good for you to tap in, David. I can see your eyes there right now, and we will say goodbye, guys. Until next week.
Thanks, everyone. Again, nice to see everyone here.
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Thank you, Mark.
Absolutely.
Have a great
See you
day.
next week. Take care.